Welcome to Yoga for You, a channel tailored to helping you discover your very own unique yoga practice. Hey everybody, welcome back to another talk. Today's guest is Erik. Erik is a really good friend of mine. He was a retired military, retired sniper, retired Santa Monica cop, gone yogi. Compassion, empathy is his name of the game. Absolutely incredible character. In this interview, we're going to talk about empathy, we're going to talk about compassion, we're going to talk about Wim Hof, we're going to talk about breathing, yoga, recovery, using yoga as a recovery, and so many other beautiful things. Be sure to stick around to the end and hear Erik serenade us with a beautiful song that he likes to share. Hope you guys enjoyed this one. Hello everybody, welcome back, and my name's Ty, and today we have a very special guest with us today, a guy by the name of Erik Milosevich, a great brother and mentor of mine. We've traveled around the world together, we've done some great things together. He's introduced to me what Wim Hof method is, and we're going to get into all that. But first, I'd like to start by saying welcome, Erik. It's so great to have you here, man. Good to see your face, smiling big as always. How are you?
Great, brother. Yeah, it's good to see you. You always put a smile on my face, man. This is mirror we talked about before. I love being in your presence, bro. So happy to be here.
Absolutely. It's an honor for both. But how are you feeling today? You got a beautiful forest behind you. I hear some beautiful birds.
Yeah, dude, I'm blessed. This is my new place. It's just outside of Austin. It's called Bastrop, and it's really interesting because as you can see, there's pines. It's like this pine forest. I feel like I'm in Big Bear or something, and it's one of the only places definitely around here. And I guess this forest I use like thousands of years old. It's really this old pine forest right along the Colorado River.
Wow.
Outside of Texas. And so, yeah, dude, I'm grounded in, feels good.
That's awesome. You look good, man. You look happy and healthy.
Yeah, I'm doing my best, bro. Yeah, it's a constant, it's a process, man, as we know, but I have tools to keep me smiling,
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so, I'd like to, and I know it's kind of what this is about, like that, what I have experienced in my life and what's worked for me to keep me smiling, keep me going.
Yeah. What are some of those things that you would say are helping you right now in your life?
Yeah, right now, I mean, the Wim Hof thing, which we've talked about a little bit. I've been doing that like 4 years or so, maybe a little longer at this point. And that's still, man, it's just one of those daily practices. I heard something recently. It's from I think The Best Salesman. That book, it's an old book, but one of the first things it talks about is create positive habits and become their slave.
I love that.
Yeah, I heard that. I was like, yeah, man, that's beauty, So one of those is the Wim Hof, doing my deep breathing. I did that already, early this morning. I did about, a few rounds of some deep breath. And I haven't got in yet, but I will. I have an ice bath right over there, converted, meat freezer, but I have a little yin yang painted. I'm actually looking at it right now, on there. But anyway, it's converted, fill it with water, bottom line, plug it in, it freezes up, and you break the ice, and you get in that bad boy. So yeah, that's one of my daily practices, dude, and it's challenging. I mean, every time when I don't ever really want to get in, I look at it, I'm like, and that's part of it that gets you going, right? It's like I don't really want to get in there, but I'm getting in, man. Boom, and I get in, I settle in, and feel the warm. You can literally feel the warm blood leaving your limbs and going to your core to protect you, and then suddenly after a little while, it may take 30 seconds, 45 seconds, you become peaceful. And then I'm just sitting in there, and yeah, I can hear the birds chirping and everything slows down. And I'm in there for maybe, 2 minutes or so. And I have some hip issues, I have lower back issues, and it seems to help. It definitely helps with those. I mean, initially when I get out, I'm numb. For a little while, I don't feel shit. I'm like, I feel, 18 again. I got no pain. And of course, that does come back. But not to the degree. It just pumps the fluids through my body. So, and I get a drop of dopamine when I get out, and some adrenaline. So it's like, ta-da! I mean, it is transforming. It's transforming. Yeah. I mean, yeah. I mean, my Jillian, my girl, she can tell when I've done it. Like she's like, you just got a bath, and out of the ice, yeah. Because I'm like, woo, fired up, get your metabolism going for like the next hour, or so, or maybe even longer. And so yeah, so that's one of them. nature, dude, like the pine forest and whatever that's behind me, wherever you are though, right? It's just even when I was in LA, man, it would make such a difference to get out and go up into Topanga and go on a
Mhm.
little hike somewhere. And I that is such a beautiful gift, and I go now down to the river and just I'll jump in and go for a little swim and then just sit there and just connect. It's as simple as watching a leaf pass by in the water and listening to the birds and just being in the moment. Being nature is such a healing tool, for me. And I'm still doing my yoga practice. My body's a little beat up, but I still get in there and just really. One thing that I assert, and this came from um, a yoga teacher, years ago, is like really they're to give instruction, and I teach, right? I'm teaching the Wim Hof method. I teach them yoga and different things, but I feel like whoever's teaching you, obviously take that in and then listen to their suggestion, and then maybe try it, but then listen to your body, no matter
Yes.
what you're doing, right? Like, oh, that and it's okay, yeah, push it, but where do I go to where it's comfortable and literally
Mhm.
start turning in and listening to that? And that is your real master, right?
Yes.
Um, so it was Brian Kest. He was a freaking amazing yoga teacher in LA that I first heard that, and basically said exactly what I just did. I'm giving you this instruction, listen to your body. So I assert that to everyone, go out, try different things, see what feels good in your body, and really, tune in to yourself.
Yeah,
Um,
that's so key. That's so key, and just allowing that dialogue to, not maybe for so many people that internal dialogue can seem only negative all the time, right? But like getting in there
yeah,
and figuring out, okay, well, how can I play with this pose, and how can I feel like if I shift my hips this way, if I move my shoulder this way, how does it feel different? Playing around, like we're talking about, a
yeah,
common
man.
theme we've been talking about with some people is just breaking through the rigidity. Life is rigid enough, right? Especially the last couple of years,
Yeah,
it's been pretty rigid. We can get out of that and get into more of a flow dance state. And
love it.
I know you
Yeah.
know about that. You're a pretty avid ecstatic dancer. Is that right?
Yeah, baby. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I love that. I love to do some ecstatic dance, and yeah, that's been really healing. Like I crashed on my motorcycle. It's been, gosh, I don't know, a couple of years ago that happened, and I was beat up, pretty bad. And it was interesting. What really helped was the dance, because and really just again tuning into my body, closing my eyes, and like it was limited at first. I couldn't lift my right arm at all. So but I was doing this with my left arm, and I'm like, oh, I can do this. And it comes back to another great trainer, this Marion, this lady from Dance Alive, and she's like, "What feels good? Do what feels good in your body. So just turn on the music, close your eyes, and just do what feels good. That's it. That's all you gotta do. You're like, oh, that
Simple.
feels good. And then even my arm, like eventually it was like, oh, you know what? That actually feels. I can do this, And then after a while, I
Yes.
was like, oh, look, it's coming back, and then like, whoop whoop. So yeah, I love
Yes, dude.
ecstatic dance, and there's been a lot of, it could be just initially when I went to my first class, I saw people and I was like, these people are all tripping on something, and I don't know, and then I started doing it, and probably half an hour into it, I was loving it, and it's just so freeing. And there's been research done on that too, that it literally creates new synapses in your brain. So another part of ecstatic dance, you may be moving and you go, okay, now I want to move in a way I've never moved before.
Mm.
Wow, what do I, and for me, that's getting more and more difficult because I've been playing this game for a while. I might be rolling around on the floor, you know what I mean? Trying to catch put my toe in my mouth. I could do
Oh
something
man.
crazy. And it's like when you're doing that, it's really creative for your body and your mind, So it's a beautiful way. To actually helps with people stay young and different Alzheimer's and different stuff to like keep that brain flowing and the body moving. So yeah. Anyway, ecstatic dance is
Absolutely.
is,
So
is the bomb.
So I know a little bit about your past, and I know that maybe you were not always the type of guy who would get on that dance floor and roll around on the floor. How would you say your journey has unfolded to this point where you can feel comfortable in your own skin and your own body enough to express and expose yourself in that very vulnerable state?
Yeah, thanks for asking that, man. I think that's it's important. Just how you started out saying very rigid. We're in these rigid times, right? Like a lot of rules and distancing and masks, and it's been insanely difficult. And now, but I started like military and the police, which is very structured. These are the parameters and certain way to act and be, and it was challenging to break free from that, And there's times and place. for structure. You know, I think of The Art of War, which is an amazing that Lao Tzu, and it's like you can initially you have to create structure in your life, kind of like we talked about. You have these parameters, you know, become a slave to those, and then go, okay, but now how can I free up in there? How can I play and like break free from these boundaries? You know, so that's kind of what my experience with. I was in the military, and I was a cop, and I taught a lot of Krav Maga, which is, you know, very, very, very young, very strong, and I loved it. I was doing it, but I like started getting my body started getting beat up, and then I started going more yin, doing a little yoga, and just go, oh my God, so much healing. So I find, you know, finding that balance in your life. And then it was like somebody invited me to an ecstatic dance, and then it was so freeing for me. And they're like, wow, there's so much room to just to play. It's like you had mentioned before too, like just to enjoy and to be free and to dance and allow yourself to do that and find space, you know, to do that. And it really opened up my heart, you know, to start doing that. So yeah, I was probably, I don't even know, like 12 years ago. I was still a police officer when I started doing ecstatic dance, and I would go Tuesdays and Thursdays nights. I didn't tell any of my cop buddies. This was like for me. And when I went to ecstatic dance, I didn't really, I was nice and friendly, obviously, with people, but I didn't really I didn't tell them I was a police officer. You know, this was my time to just be outside of the box, you know, and let go. So I think finding that structure again can be necessary, but then find a place and a time where you can, you know, you can let go. Which it just kind of makes me think of one other thing I think is really worth mentioning. So I'm teaching breath work, and I taught to law enforcement, and I was fortunate enough to teach to some military. And there was one time we were working with this elite group, military soldiers, and they were trainers themselves. They were in the military. They were also trainers for, it was actually the Air Force, for pararescue guys. And we're teaching them, and they're doing the breath. And then we'd been there for 4 days. And then finally we did this really intense breath, and they pushed themselves, but all of a sudden you could tell they stopped breathing. So even though we were still telling them to go, they're like, whoa. And anyway, they stood up and they all had tears in their eyes. And one of them was like, wow, this could be really good for PTSD. So really, in regards to the breath, and where I would like to see law enforcement and military, and it's already happening. There's somebody, and what's interesting, it's usually the elite guys, the SWAT guys, the freaking special forces unit guys that are actually more open to doing the shit. You know, because they look at it like, okay, how do I get the most out of my body? How do I? And then they're starting to see, I need rest. It's just as important as working out hard.
Absolutely.
And they see they're seeing all this tragic shit. Like, look, when you're in the middle of the mess, you know, bullets are flying or whatever. That's not the thing. You can't curl up in a little ball and cry. Like, it's not the time. You do got to man up. But you just keep doing that and compressing and pushing that stuff down. At some point, it's going to explode. So the hope is, and the light is that they could be able to come back from something like that, get into a room that they feel safe, do some breathing, and allow the emotions to come up then. You know, allow, I mean, that all that stuff to come up. I mean, the number one killer of law enforcement and military is suicide, man. So it's like, how do we allow that to be released? Cry and like, you know, freaking man hug, and like let all that be okay, and allow the emotions to come out, and then download and like, okay, I'm all right, man, you know, and then be able to go and carry on and do whatever other mission that you know to do. And with that said, and just is really, it also touches your heart, and you learn to connect with other people when you're in a room breathing, and then you see people crying and releasing, and then they can release, bring something up in you, and then they release, and then there's this new connection of like, whoa. So then that opens up their hearts too for like law enforcement to go out in the world and really connect with people.
Yes,
You know,
and
which is
that's
also
key.
huge, so key, man.
And so these are guys who, you know, they have an understanding of what brotherhood is. I mean, absolutely, it's just an understood rule in that, you know, in whatever department of law enforcement or military branch. I mean, there's this understanding of brotherhood. But how can you provide how do you successfully provide a comfortable and safe space to allow them to experience a new form of brotherhood? What are things that you maybe decorate the space with, or things that you have found successful in encouraging that vulnerability to come forth?
Yes, so I have seen there are certain departments, and again, this is a kind of there is reform going on. Even before the whole George Floyd and all that stuff, it was already starting to happen. And now I feel like like departments like there's obviously a call for law enforcement to reform from the community, and and it is happening. And I think it's important that people know, the regular people, folks, citizens know that it is happening. There is this transformation already occurring amongst law enforcement. There's certain departments that already have like meditation rooms. They have rooms that's just in there. You go in there, and maybe there's like, it's quiet. They can feel safe in there. And there's like, maybe there's lounge chairs, or there's yoga mats, there's cushions, meditation cushions, and it's becoming way more accepted. And sometimes they maybe just go in there, and you go in there, it's quiet. You just need to sit and decompress. And they're learning these different breathing. The Wim Hof method has become real popular because, Wim Hof he's a manly man, but he's got one of the biggest hearts I've ever seen. So it's like that, and allowing, creating these spaces where they feel safe like that, and they can do that. And it's beautiful to see that transformation is occurring. And I think another thing that's important is because then it translates to how they treat the public. Right, if they're feeling suicidal, they don't even, look, it's the number one killer. Then how many people are just running around depressed, but not to the point where they're going to kill themselves, but just that, and feeling this. I ask them, how do they feel about their department? And sometimes they feel there's this stress within the department. They're not even getting along with the people in the department, and then how are you then going to go out and then spread compassion and sympathy with those, that you meet, that you have to work with. So it really starts with, for themselves, that they feel good about themselves. And then they, the peer, they start, communicating and spreading that. It's like the seed of love. And then I do think that there's a transformation, a reform in law enforcement thinking. When I started, it was really command presence. You show up like, we're on scene, we're the ones in charge, and it can be this pushback. When they come in, boom, then other people want to push back. And so it's this boom, but that's also changing. Like, how about we show up, they're taking a lot more body language instead of showing up, with this harsh body language, that you open, with open arms and heart, and like, hey, how's it going, man? And really connecting with these people as people. And it's, I always talk about the dichotomy, and I'm really like the yin yang principles. Like, you got, show up with love and compassion and carry that. However, you're also ready. Right? I mean, the cop has to go home at night, right? He has families and different stuff going on too. So, but you show up and you with this compassion, but then if suddenly somebody comes at you with a gun or a knife, you can't you gotta be ready, So then, boom, you gotta do what you gotta do, and then be aware. This awareness, and the breath work really helps with awareness. So if you're doing something, you gotta take a guy down to the ground, you don't lose it. And then, because what happens, a lot of officers, good people, but we're human, right? So if you're not in control, and all of a sudden they go into fight or flight, right, and they're in this really sympathetic nervous system thing, and then it becomes survival. And maybe they're hitting this guy, and you see it on the video, and you're like, oh my God, that's horrible. Look, this officer kept hitting him, and it is horrible. And there needs to be a standard. However, a lot of times they're just human, and then afterwards they're like, holy shit, dude, I lost it because I wouldn't have to fight or flight, and I didn't know how to control myself.
Yeah.
So if they learn how to breathe and learn the martial art techniques are important. So then boom, they know what they're doing, and every strike is conscious. Okay, boom, I can stop now. Boom, I can do whatever I need to do, and maintaining actually compassion for this person they're dealing with, not taking it personal. So now if this guy goes into shock or there's something going on, boom, I can treat him. What am I doing? So you can go from having to boom punch the guy if need be. He comes at you with a knife immediately. Block. You're taking him down. Boom, and now you got that under control. And now you're saying, oh shit. Now this guy's going to shock. I need to treat him for shock. Let's throw him over, first aid. Like, it's just huge. This job it's never been more difficult than now for law enforcement, man. But it is what it is. I tell officers like, hey, this is what it is. It's the job you got. If you don't want it, then there's the door, man. This is what you signed up for.
Yeah. You said you use so many good words, consciousness in every strike. You're talking about just being aware. You're talking about fight or flight. You're talking about all these things that are they're so important. And what I love what you said, and we've had a lot of work together. We've worked on some of your personal projects together. So I know kind of a little bit more than the average viewer would about your background, but I know how much you do in de-escalation training as well. And that's so key, because when you say being able to show up without that, in your face kind of, here I am, here's my gun, here's my weapon, here's my baton, here's
Right.
my shield, that's sure, but is it always necessary? That's like you said, that does create instant pushback. And if you can be more secure in your techniques, if you can be more secure in your de-escalation practices, maybe martial arts understandings, then you wouldn't need to necessarily lead with that
Yeah,
intense
man.
form. And so something to the listeners out there, something that Erik has been working on is de-escalation training. He's made a couple of videos, a couple of segments, and he's actually traveled around and worked with law enforcement. So Erik, would you like to talk a little bit about de-escalation and how that's going amongst the training you're doing?
Yeah, again, huge. And I feel like one of the interesting things, or one that's kind of a good example, when I went through training, basic training and stuff, they did this training called Ask, Tell, Make. So you go up to somebody and you tell them to sit on the curb. You maybe ask him, hey, sir, please sit on the curb, and he doesn't. Then you tell him, sit on the curb. And then if he doesn't, you grab him, boom, you make him. Ask, tell, make. But that doesn't always work. You don't know where these people are at in their minds. There's a lot of people with mental disabilities, mental health issues. There's people under the influence of drugs. You don't know where they're at or what's going on with them. So really, it's like, let's look at how do we connect with what these people are, and then just initially just come in and look at them. Obviously, you stay at a safe distance and all that, but now let's connect this even. Hey man, what's going on? How you doing? And just try to connect with them initially. And then look, there may be times that you have to take control of them. If you start looking at, okay, this guy goes, there's a school over there and this guy has a knife or whatever, I got to stop him. You got to do what you got to do. But really try to connect with people and talk to people and see where they're at and come to to that place. It's just like, to me, it's putting yourself in their shoes, which can be difficult. But it's so important. I see like law enforcement, I deal a lot of times with these homeless guys. So man, to put yourself in the guy's shoes, and maybe he's making he's in the gutter, he's lying in his own feces, and he's a mess. Now to go there and look at that guy and just be like, wow, what if I was lying in the gutter with my own feces over my buddy? Look, by the grace of God, go I. You know what I mean? Like, who knows what turns and tribulations this person has. So now it puts you in this. It literally, there's again been studies when you use that part of your brain to actually take the time. It doesn't take, it can take an instant to just boom, imagine yourself, your imagination. I'm there. I'm this. I'm that. It literally changes. You use a different part of your brain when you do that. And then suddenly, and then what's it called? It's called empathy, right? Suddenly you're putting yourself in that person's shoes, soiled pants, if you will. And then you now talk to them. Take that moment. And look, law enforcement, it's tricky, bro, because you may show up on scene and you're going to do something and you're thinking, oh, I'm all this nice stuff. And then all of a sudden, boom, this guy pulls out a gun and starts shooting you. So you got to be able to go, boom, right away. That's why training is so important. Like all that training, the young training can't go away. Like I don't really train in martial arts anymore, but I've done it my whole life. But let me tell you, if I was still wearing a gun and a badge, I would be doing stuff. I'd be doing jujitsu, Krav Maga, whatever. I would still be doing it. Because another study was done where they did this study on avid martial artists that were law enforcement. And do you think they had more or less force?
Probably a lot less.
Yeah, man. A lot less across the board. A lot less uses of force and a lot less complaints. Because then you can walk in and talk to people like we're talking about, and you don't have to go into fight. Because you're looking at him like, if he does this, I'm going to do this move, I'm going to do this. But now I can be calm.
There's security in that, right? There's genuine, legitimate security. And if you don't have that, you compensate for other forces.
Yeah.
It can get out of hand really quick. And I think we've seen our fair share of that lately.
Yeah. Yeah, so there's this, there is a training. They really got to train in the martial arts and in guns and all that stuff, even more to me. And let's train on de-escalation. Let's train on connecting with people. Even I'd have an officer's eye gaze for a minute, you know, which is the eye gazing exercise. Just sit there, don't say a word, and look at each other in the eyes for a minute. And for law enforcement, they were like, "Well," and then I would tell them, "Look, are you kidding me? Your job, you go out there and connect with people. You might have to go tell some mother that her child was just killed in a car accident, and now you got to go connect with this person. You're the one that's your job. Now sit, you know, down and eye gaze and see what comes up."
That's
So
huge.
really, yeah, there used to be kind of this call from me, like, disconnect, don't get connected with people, don't, you know, you can't connect with people because, you know, you don't want to take it home with you. And I get that idea, but it really, I feel for me, it didn't work, man. I felt empty, and I just ended up connecting with people. I would be talking to people. Maybe you know, maybe somebody did just pass, like a scenario we're just talking about or whatever. And I would just sit and connect with them. And I would allow, I wouldn't, obviously I wouldn't like cry. I don't know that I ever cried, but I would allow, you know, tears to come up and really connect with those people. And there's times I would drive away from the incident a little ways in my car, you know, somewhere that's safe, and then just sit there and let it happen. I would let tears and just allow myself to cry. And right then, you know, like, okay, and then drive off. All right, I'm ready for my next call. What do we got? You know, I'm ready for lunch, you know. But that download is important. And then when I started doing the Wim Hof, when I was still in law enforcement, I was at home doing the breathing, and there was times I would just be sitting on my couch breathing like crazy, doing the Wim Hof stuff, and I would be done, and I would just start crying, and just it was a release. And that happened for a while, and now, you know, I'm beyond that. Now I'm typically laughing or having a good time. However, look, I still have issues, relationships, family, COVID, all this stuff. The you know, the George Floyd thing, police, that stuff. Really, there's a lot of anxiety and a lot of stuff going on with me. I mean, I'm still living in this world, but there's still, I have this tool now. I can go to it, you know, and it's rare now, but maybe I'll have a good cry. It feels great to me. And that's the last thing I'll say in regards to that. I was working with a group, Wim Hof, and it was an advanced program. And there was a guy there, and he introduced himself. Everyone in the program introduced him. He introduced himself that he's going to college at UCLA, which he was, and he's doing all this athletic stuff. And, you know, great young guy, probably in his late 20s, maybe early 30s. And then, you know, that's how he introduced himself. Well, then we did this deep breathing thing, and some people actually, you know, released. You know, a couple of people cried, a couple of people laughed. And he came up to me because he knew I was a cop. He knew my background in military, you know, and I was assisting on the program. He came up to me, and he's like kind of looking around. He's like, "Look, I didn't tell anybody else this, but, you know, I was a Navy SEAL. You know, I was a Navy SEAL. I can't remember for how long, 4, 6 years, whatever. He was a Navy SEAL, and you know, he did his thing. And he's like, "You know what, man? Just now I was doing the breathing, man, and I could feel the emotion coming up. I could feel it coming up. And I was like feeling like, yes, yes, yes. And it almost released. And then this voice in my head was like, suck it up, suck it up, suck it up." And he's like, "Ah," and I pushed it back. He's like, "Oh, I'm so mad." I was like, "Dude, come here." You know,
Wow.
and I gave him a freaking man hug. I'm like, just, you know, keep doing it. And it's not that voice that he hears of suck it up. It was his training in the military. And there's time and place for that. When he's in the middle of it, you got to suck it up. However, now when you get in a safe place, the new voice has to start coming in, you know, let it go, you know, and so they can start to release.
Yeah, it's important. The release is important just as much. I mean, like yin and yang.
Yeah.
I mean, it's duality. It's understanding,
Yeah.
but the awareness of that too is pretty profound. That he had that sensation and rising and rising and rising. I mean, that shows a lot about just general awareness, being able to observe that. You know, to get to that point where you can sense the emotions coming up that is progress. You know, that's big time progress in and of
Yeah,
itself.
absolutely, man. He was definitely on the right track and realizing that, yeah, I want to release, I want to cry, instead of making it wrong or weird or, you know, "Why I don't cry, I'm tough." Like, again, that's why these people are depressed and suicide. So you gotta release that stuff so you can
So
dance. Yeah.
yeah, so we can dance. It's all it's for, right? So you had a pretty full life of serving in one way, and then through retirement or shortly towards the end of retirement, you found yourself drifting more towards a conscious approach, and And now, if anything, you're serving the people who serve in a way that is more nuanced and more needed in this modern world. What brings you the most peace in life in this moment, Erik?
That's a great question. I mean, I guess what I think of what touches my heart the most is, I have a daughter, I have grandkids. I'm a grandpa, so wow, when I go see my grandkids, I have like a 3-year-old little granddaughter, and they're like I think it's like 6 months old now. It's crazy, time flies. But last time I went and visited them, it was really nice. I actually got to spend more quality time with my 3-year-old granddaughter, because her mom was taking care of the baby. So I was just like, my job was to entertain her, which was such a blessing. Her imagination was so amazing. And like, so the time when she like whispered to me, she came up to me, she goes, "I love you." I just like melted me. So yeah, like, that's beautiful, family. And then I recently did a Wim Hof thing. I did it here at my house. I just had a couple of guys came over, and we went through the whole program, did the breathing, and, and these guys really went for it. And yeah, one of the guys after we did the breathing was like, "That may have been the most profound thing I've ever done in my life," and just the look on his face. And then we got on the ice and like sharing, like, so I've gathered these tools for my own self-preservation through the military and law enforcement and stuff, like just to get through it, and my own divorces, all my own drama that I've gone through, my own depression, all that stuff. So this is what worked for me. Now it's so wonderful to be giving back, and say, this is what worked for me. And some people are open to it, some aren't, that's fine, but whoever is open to it, and to see passing that on, beautiful. When those guys left, and Jillian has been helping me and sharing it with her. It's nice to have a partner to, just share this stuff with. And that's beautiful, dude. Passing it on to other folks is amazing. I have a really good friend who's Sham Dodge, who has a very interesting, actually, you know what? It'd be great if you did an interview with him too. He's a great dude,
let's
yogi,
connect.
Born in an ashram, like, it just is great, man, a huge heart. And I remember someone came up to him and they were like, how do I find enlightenment? And no, like, and his thing was, you know what? You want to find that, you want to feel that, help others. And I found that, look, I feel like I'm kind of a selfish and like self-pitying guy sometimes. And law enforcement, sometimes my job would help me out. I'd be feeling, oh, woe is me. And then I would go to work and I would see the people we're talking about. I'd see some guy in the gutter, down and out or whatever. And I would see that and I'd be, yeah, let me try to help. And then literally helping this guy out. And I would like, I feel better helping this guy, help me. So that, yeah.
Karma yoga.
Karma yoga, bro.
There it is.
There it is.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
So then what you probably got some things coming up, I'm sure, in the next couple of months or weeks that you're working on. You've always got some little workshop or something happening. What you got for us?
Yeah, brother. So I'm working here in Austin. We connected recently with a place called Third Eye Meditation. Sweet spot. They're in this place. Casa de Luz is the name of this. There's a restaurant there that's fantastic. I'm not a vegetarian, but the vegetarian, it's vegan actually food. Delicious, amazing. And they have this great outdoor eating area. And then they have these meditation rooms and yoga rooms. And then the Third Eye Meditation is the organization. They have an elixir bar with cacao and kinds of, yummy stuff. And then they have these yoga rooms. So anyway, I've got connected with them and they're excited about the Wim Hof thing. So Jillian and I love actually working with her and doing it. She's an amazing yoga teacher. So we'll do some breath and then she'll do some yoga, and then we'll go deep into the breath and do some ice bath. And when we do the deep breathing with the Wim Hof, she's doing a sound bath with like crystal bowls. And I got like a buffalo drum going. And so we do this whole experience, like above and beyond. So that's coming up. So we're just like, that's April 3rd is the tentative date. We're just kind of like negotiating, figuring out the finer, points in that. So that's coming up. And then I'm working with this organization that called Pathfinder Resilience. And I just started a course. This lady is fantastic, Renee. she's an incredible doctor. She created this program. It's already up and running. And then somebody like, told a friend about me. And so I connected with her. It's happening in California. It's post certified. If you're a police officer, it's through standardized training. So it's an online program. It's an 8-week program that officers go through. And they go online, they do the program. But there's also, while they're going through it, and it's all actually, they do some Wim Hof breathing on there. I'm just starting the program, just the first day the other day. So I'm going to go through the 8-week program. And the idea, everything goes well, is I'm set up to be a mentor. Because when you're going through the program, you can contact your mentor and discuss with them or whatever's going on with you. So I'm excited about being a part of that program. There's another organization called Peer Advocates that's working with Oakland PD, and I'm a part of that organization now. And we've been working with them for a while. Sometimes there's a lot of red tape to get through, but we're negotiating with Oakland to do a week-long training with them. So I'm stoked about that. I just recently was contacted to be at a symposium that's happening out here, and that's the reason they reached out to me. They wanted a Wim Hof instructor, and so they went online, they found me. And they were like stoked because it's called the Pathfinder. I'm sorry, no, that was the other one. It's a symposium that's happening, providers, that's it. Providers Symposium. And it's going to be at the Lost Pines Hyatt Regency out near me in November. So I've asked to be a part of that. And that they're really focusing on, both of the guys that I've talked to are actually doctors. One of them is an anesthesiologist. That came up with this and said, like, let's get out there. So they want to help medical staff, especially emergency room medical staff, and also law enforcement, firefighters. So they're having this big symposium out here in November. They're just putting together the Lost Pines Hyatt Regency, beautiful place. So anyway, I'm part of that. Going to do some Wim Hof with those folks out there. So yeah, I got that going on, and I'm building my own spa here. I got my hot tub, my ice bath, and I just got my permit approved to build my own sauna. So yeah, I'm creating my own little thing here.
Awesome.
Yeah.
It sounds like you
So
got
in a nutshell, that's it, bro.
Yeah, but that's awesome. I mean, you're doing all the things that light you up the most. Your service is not complete. As far as like I feel like you're gonna be serving the beautiful people of this earth and whoever that means in that moment for years and years and years to come, because it's so obvious that it is what you're meant to do. I mean, you've gone through all these steps of life, all these developmental phases, and you've cherry picked the lessons, and you know what's good and what's, you developed your own discernment, right? You developed your own awareness. You've traveled around the world. I mean, for the listeners listening, Erik and myself went to Ecuador in the jungle, the deep, you had to land on a dirt runway or a canoe to get to this little jungle village. Yeah. And we stayed there, and he was teaching them martial arts in the school. He was using martial arts as a way to teach them English. And my God, I've never seen anything that's really just quite so beautiful as that whole 2-week experience spent with Erik there. But he's doing it.
You were glowing, dude. You were in that jungle. There was just this light around you, man, and everyone saw it, man. All the indigenous, like, who is this man? Yeah, it was a beautiful experience, dude. Definitely lifetime. That's obviously once in a lifetime kind of thing. That was great.
Yeah, to that extent, anyway. But
yeah.
I've seen Erik in some pretty beautiful moments and some pretty vulnerable moments, and I just got to say, if anything you're hearing so far is just, lighting you up or interesting you, if you have a friend, maybe an uncle, a grandfather, a dad, a stepdad, whoever, a stranger you just met on the road, I mean, anyone who you think can relate and just really begin to utilize what you're hearing Erik speak of, please pass his information on to them. Send them this video. This is how we work to really begin building a new community from the inside out, working, and I say inside out, meaning the internal of every human being, recognizing that there's this little space inside that deserves to see the light, despite what your past may tell you. And all these conditionings and these past programmings that are undoubtedly there to serve us and help us better serve others. Like Erik said earlier, it's important to know when to set them down and when it's okay to cry. And when it's okay to feel. So just amazing stuff happening all around. I'd love to ask you a couple more questions about maybe like the yoga side of things. How have you, like, do you have a practice right now that extends into the asanas or the flows, or what is
Yeah.
that like for you at the moment?
Yeah, so for me, my body, man, I mean, my back, I was doing quite a bit actually yoga and ecstatic dance, and then my hip, dude, from all the years of martial arts, throwing a lot of kicks and whatnot and what have you, and different things I've been through, man, I got this hip thing. So it's been somewhat limiting, but I say really what I've gotten into in regard. So I've loved vinyasa. I started out with vinyasa, and then when my back was jacked, I started getting into yin, and I went and became an instructor in yin. So I have that background, but most recently, dude, is I do more Kundalini yoga, which I'm like, God, where has this been all my life? It's weird how things can be there, but they just present themselves at the right time. So I've been doing a lot of that, so just like, it's this intense breath and these movements, and like really connecting the deep breath with the movements. And that's been lighting me up. And then again, Jillian teaches some yoga, so I'll go with her. She's teaching yoga in the park. And that's where I go. Really important that what I started this with is I'll go and she'll say, okay, we're going to do this and whatever. And I'll do it. And then I'll listen to my body. And so I just have to adjust. Some things I can't quite do like I used to do. And that's okay. I'm listening to my body. It's really good for my ego too, like to let that go. Yeah, I used to do this. Okay, but today, what can I do? And just accepting, like, oh, and it's okay. This is where I'm at. I'm doing this, and it's great that I'm here. So I love actually going to the parks and doing yoga outside now with the whole COVID thing going on. So yeah, I enjoy that practice with her and listening to my body and just being where you're at, and if you're young and vital and you can do all that. If it feels good to go full on to this, the full on Hanuman split, and then go into a handstand, and freaking do it, And if it doesn't, and it feels like, I get my feet about 4 foot apart, and I'm standing here, that feels pretty good. I think I'll just do that. Like and being okay with where you're at,
Yes,
which is
yes.
another life lesson, but I'm feeling pretty good. Like, if I can walk to my car with no pain, I'm like, good day.
That is it. I mean, it's the little things, right? And knowing your limits. I mean, you're speaking of it. It's so important to know your limits. And that's
Yeah.
where the real growth happens. That's where the real emotions happen. Otherwise, we're just still masking. And that's not, you'll get there. You can mask as long as you want, but you'll eventually know there's a little bit more to it, and it's going to come out. You can't avoid it. This path, if it calls you, you can't avoid it. It's like once you see the
Right.
light, once you feel that light,
Yeah,
that warmth,
man.
you're done. And it's a good thing, but it's not going to be necessarily a comfortable thing all the time. So it just comes with understanding that and embracing it, showing up every day, just like you do with the ice baths. You show up every day despite
Yeah,
knowing
man.
that it's going to be cold when you sit in there. So
Yeah, brother.
do you have any intentions in the future of maybe opening up a retreat center, or maybe hosting some retreats at a pre-existing retreat center for you to welcome people in?
Yeah, thank you. I don't, I mean, look, anything's possible, but I don't know that I'd do a brick and mortar thing. I like the idea of doing retreats, and like we're doing the third eye meditation. I mean, be at the symposium, and yeah. And so I'm looking at, I'd love to do a retreat to go somewhere. Dude, I've thought about it, and I still, Jose, in the jungle, in Ecuador. I still, like, every once in a while, hola, Jose, como estás, whatever. I'll hit him up.
Yes.
And then part of me is like, because I remember when we were there, like, they were saying, well, we want people to come here. We want them to see the jungle. We want them to experience this, So there's part of me is I could see, I'd love to do a retreat, dude, in Ecuador, and like flying in
Yes.
and line that shit up.
Yes.
That would be bomb diggity,
Yes. Let's
right?
do that. Let's manifest
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, so love that. And in other places I could see definitely doing some retreats, and I really feel what I'm seeing is team. Like, I'm loving connecting with these different organizations. I like that I'm doing stuff with Jillian, and I'd love to. You and I had talked before, like getting together with like a group, because like, yeah, it's like I have my background and there's stuff I can do, but then I bring out somebody else, and like suddenly, boom, now you got everything they can do. So bring these small teams and then bringing it, really bring it to people. So yeah, I'd love to do some more of that for sure.
Right on. And how is the best way for people to stay up with you through all of this? They want to connect with you more. Do you have a website, or is Instagram your
Yeah,
thing?
I have a website that I created not too long ago. I'm pretty happy with it. It can still, use some tweaking that maybe you can help me out with at some point. But
Totally.
it's called awokenwarriors.com. Awoken Warriors with an S.com is my website, and it's definitely a way that you could reach out to me there. I think my email's on there, and Rock the World on Instagram,
That's
which
it.
I really I have to my daughter, I think when she started Instagram, was like I created that silly name basically to like follow my daughter and see what she's up to, and she's up to like amazing great things, so I don't have to worry about her now. Yeah, so that's, I guess, the Awoken Warriors. um Stephen Erik Milosevich on Facebook. Those are probably the best ways.
Beautiful. Yeah, we'll have all those linked down below in the description, so you can
Cool.
find those easily right below this video. But Erik, man, it's been an absolute pleasure chatting with you and sharing this moment and these stories. You have such a beautiful life story, and it's only beginning. Truly, I feel like that from you. I've always felt like that from you. Every day, I feel like you just take it by the horns, and you really just get it, and you show up in the capacity that you're being called to do on that given day. So thank you. I wanted to see if there's anything that's coming through from you, maybe channel wise, otherwise, to just tell anybody. What are you feeling in your heart to speak to anybody who may be new to this journey, maybe trying to figure out what it's like to be vulnerable, or start yoga, or start Wim Hof? What advice do you have for them in this moment?
Like wherever they're at is just fine. Like I mean, again, I talk about I get on the yoga mat now. I'm a beat up old man now, like that mat, but it's fine. I'm like, okay, this is where I'm at today. So wherever they are, man. If they like, I don't know, having a hard time moving, doing whatever. I mean, I'm thinking about. I've seen a guy at the Dance Alive that was in a wheelchair, right, and was like from his waist down was paralyzed, but he would show up and then wheelchair and he'd be like moving around and he would like glowing when he's done. So wherever you are, man, I know it's COVID, people have been locked down, put on some weight, blah blah. Like, okay, let go of the judgment and move and breathe. This is all you got right now. Do the Stevie Wonder, like wherever you are, move. Get into the groove. That's kind of that would be my thing. And the breath. Here's another thing that I think is interesting, and there's science behind this. Is like when I take my bike for a ride and I go down to the river, it's amazing.
Mm,
But I still deal with depression. I still have things that I'm dealing with. Absolutely.
of course.
And thinking about riding my bike, sometimes going down the river, I'm not motivated. I'm like, it doesn't happen by the thought of it. The
Mhm.
thought of it's kind of like, I don't want to get on my bike. I don't want to go. What happened? It's that commitment, man. It's being a slave to those good habits.
I
So
got
now,
chills.
if I like, what, I just got to do it because I'm committed to it. And it's crazy though. As soon as I get on my bike, and I roll down the driveway, I'm like, oh hell yeah, it's fun. I'm like pedaling. I already feel better.
Yes.
So it's you can't sit there and think about it and waiting for the feel good feelings to come. You got to start doing this shit. You start breathing.
Absolutely.
It's like you can't think about working out. It's like, fuck, working out, dude. No, I got start working out. Oh, now it feels good. So the old Nike thing, just do it.
Yes.
And start wherever you're at. Accept where you're at, and just go for it.
Go for it. I love it.
Yeah. Yeah. One thing that I don't know if like we're the indie thing,
No,
but
go for it.
there's one thing that I would like to. Another thing that I've taken on, and I've actually this has been something that I like doing for years. I just never really is singing, and
Mm.
breath work. I've noticed now I'll do like 3 rounds of deep breathing, and then I'll sing. Man, I am warmed up. My lungs are completely expanded, and I'll be singing like, whoa! I'll be hitting notes I haven't ever hit before, whether it's
Wow.
kirtan type chanting or just singing. So that's another little thing that I'm actually playing. I met this guy at the pawn shop. 73 years old. He was playing a keyboard.
Wow.
Yeah, this black dude, and I went up to him, and now we become friends. And I like actually ended up buying him a little keyboard, and now somebody's giving him a piano. He's gonna put it in my house. He's an amazing piano player. Incredible. So look, I have my ulterior motives, right? Like, so he plays and I get to sing and hum along. And
there you go.
We got a little concert for not a concert. He's gonna play at this record store in the little town here. But they're inviting people, and there'll be, this is Texas. There'll be some like wild turkey and barbecue probably. He's gonna play, and I'm gonna sing a couple songs, man. So, yeah, sing, dance, have a good time. I'm a little nervous, stage fright. But one of the, I'd like to, if I could, I'd like to sing just one little part.
Yo, please.
Yeah.
Yes.
And really, it's just Nina Simone, and my daughter turned me on to Nina Simone. My younger daughter, like Nina Simone, we're going back, right? But she sang this beautiful song, and you guys, I don't know if you recognize it with me singing it, but it really touched, especially if I went down to the river one day and I thought of this. The song just was like, well, I felt it, So it's so again, I like it. To me, it's breath work. Singing is breath work, right? So take a couple deep breaths. Birds flying high, you know how I feel. Sun in the sky, you know how I feel. Breeze drifting on by, you know how I feel. It's a new day, it's a new life for me. And I'm feeling good.
Yes, dude. I'm feeling it too. Beautiful,
Yeah,
brother.
baby.
You're such a beautiful soul, man. You're such a beautiful soul. Thank you for
Love you,
being.
bro.
I love you too. And let's look at doing some more of these whenever the time presents itself. We'll be doing a lot more recording in-person video sessions coming to you real soon with Erik from down in Austin or on the road somewhere. We may meet up. Bro,
Yeah,
thank you
baby.
for being and keep doing it. I'm here for you as always. And thank you for being here today. Appreciate you.
Yeah, I appreciate you. Much love.
So much love.
Hey everybody, really hope you enjoyed that talk. It was beautiful to have that experience with that shared guest. We have a lot of very useful information in the description section below, so be sure to check it out. I've also linked any and all videos with that individual in the description below, so check those out as well. It's an honor to bring this footage to you, and I hope you can come back and continue to deepen your practice. Namaste.